underworld? Or are you now living in this underworld that I speak of? But what is the symbolism and the significance of the underworld? If we look into the simplest definition of the underworld, we see that it's a great representation of a place or a world of great criminal activity and criminals. Now I ask you, is this a place where you want to live or be part of? Now, by a show of hands, how many of you have raised your hands to be a part of this depiction of the underworld? Wow, I see many of you have indeed raised your hands, but only a small fraction wants no association with this underworld. Now, according to its definition, the underworld signifies a place of great criminal activity and criminals. Now, if we look at the current state of our 3D world and we look at the association of just criminal activity, we see the depiction of everyday lives. You know, you steal, you do certain activities, you know, maybe it's just trafficking drugs and all of that. And you, of course, based on the laws of our present day 3D world, get charged and punished for that. But I'm not talking about this surface level criminal activity. I'm talking about the essence of the criminal activity that remains behind the scenes, that seems to be staged, plotted, and planned. Now let me take you back to this great timeline. We may go back far, far, far beyond the ages, but because we are shifted into the new age of the golden age, we can revert back to a timeline where this great timeline of a golden age of Atlantis is one that can truly show the depiction of the underworld as. We can just simply look at certain things that had occurred during this time. You know, many strategic ways of using technology and, you know, many just mystical ways of doing things that led many people into doing certain criminal activities. You see, we can now see that if we look at Atlantis and, you know, from its historical perspective, that great timeline and city pretty much delve deep down into the ocean, into what's now called the underworld. Now there are far more mysteries of what happened, and as I've introduced previously, we have all been part of this timeline. Now, we can go back and see certain, you know, past depictions of this timeline and tell ourselves like, wow, maybe using certain strategic ways of doing things has that truly led us on a path where it has elevated the current world. Now, as it relates to the underworld and the criminal activities, we can see now that there's a correlation with Atlantis and what's going on right now, as we now see that certain entities and organizations have pretty much strategically set up certain ways of doing and being into trying to recreate this story of Atlantis and taking us into the underworld. Now, as I've stated, just this whole depiction right now in the 3D world, we can see from the pandemic to just the socio-economic state of our world, you know, our money system, our food supplies, the structures of our buildings and homes and, you know, financial institutions. We can now see that criminal activities set up. As many of us, we see, we are transforming as we go through the awakening. But has it been strategically depicted in our everyday lives to truly take us to the underworld? Not just in mental form, but in certain spiritual aspects in our lives. Has this great depiction of the underworld kind of been in plain sight, but remained from behind the scenes of these very corporations who stage, plot, and plan everything to truly use us as characters in their storyline, but truly remain behind the scenes in taking this whole 3D world into the underworld. And as we can continue to look at the symbolism of Atlantis, where it is pretty much remained in the depths of the ocean, while we are above the ocean on land, kind of being taken there again into that past timeline. And so there are many staged criminal activities and depictions that have been going on in our lives, from our money system, to the very essence of using our dear children and fellow counterparts as just, servants into the ploy of sex trafficking for the exchange of money. We can see many depictions of that, or tax dollars being used to fund certain illegal activities. Are we now, in fact, living in a state of the underworld that we have not even been aware of? But now it is very pivotal that as we shift through the ages, we have to now stand firm and take it back in our power to see that we will not continue to subject ourselves into remaining in a world that doesn't serve us. And we will continue to evolve to truly ascend into who we are truly here to be. Now, in our very historical writings of astrology, we can see that the sign Scorpio has been attributed to the great lord of the underworld. And as according to the current astrological depictions and transits going on, we've seen that the transit of Scorpio has kind of moved into the transit of being in the house of war, structures of the world of Capricorn. And we've seen that through our very political, financial, and socio-economic institutions, every aspect of our socio-economic lives has been led into the underworld. Now we see that this can also be a great character play, as it's depicted in many movies and stories, which before we could have just seen it as a simple story. But we see now that all of this is interconnected. We have sort of been led into a place, of a past timeline, as I said, the Atlantis timeline, where that great city of Atlantis was led into the physical underworld beneath the depths of the ocean. And so, from what we've seen, the great depiction right now in the everyday aspect of our lives is to lead us to the underworld. Now we have to look at this at a great, bigger level. Why is this orchestrated right now? Some could come up with their own thoughts and interpretations of this. But what we are seeing is so far just the very essence of what's going on has caused many to go in a state of depletion. You see, if we look at the timeline of Atlantis, we could see that as much as that utopian timeline was thriving because of misuse of power and technology and control, it was sort of led into that space. And as we continue to go on our evolutionary journey into this Aquarian, we now have to see to it that is this where we want to be led into? We want to continue to be part of this underworld criminal activity world, where it's hidden in plain sight, but everything is now being risen and seen in broad daylight. We now have to ask ourselves, now that we're aware of what's truly going on behind the scenes, is that where we want to be led to? Do we just continue to fit into this status quo way of living and just go with the flow of everything? Or can we tell ourselves that the symbolism of the underworld is not a place that we want to be part of or even be? Can we now see that we have to transmute ourselves fully from within to truly continue to live out our soul's purpose in this lifetime? Can I simply ask you this question? Do you want to continue living in this place of great disequilibrium, where we are not on a balanced level, where some are simply controlling you from behind the scenes, gaining all the financial resources through criminal activities, and having you live in a state of just having nothing for yourself, not even your free will, and you just continue to fail? Now, these are very important questions that you have to ask yourself. You now see that you're such a multi-dimensional being who truly came here to be the co-creator of your own life. Now, it's not just so much about you. Before anything can happen, it has to go through you. So as you begin to heal and truly transform yourself, you have to tell yourself, you came here in this lifetime to truly become one with the harmonic frequencies of all in this life. And so as you begin to transform yourself, you have to see it's not just about me. It's about all of us recreating the beautiful harmonic stories of our lives into one of great love, where we can all live freely and all thrive. So really see to it that this great depiction of the underworld, for many, may just be a simple play or a story. But know that all of these depictions are truly creating the play of our everyday lives. So do you want to go back to the recreation of the story of the Atlantic timeline? Or do you want to truly get yourself out of this character play of the underworld and truly ascend and commune with all the fellow counterparts who live in this present day lifetime, to live in the most blissful, harmonic, loving place where we can all thrive in our purest essence of love. So much love, so much bliss, so much peace, joy, and great harmony I bid to each and every one of you as you continue to search deep within and ask yourself, do you want to be part of this underworld? Or do you want to truly live in a place where we could all commune in equal capacity and live with the highest vibrational frequency essence of our truest selves?